My name is Colonel Moyo. I grew up in Bloemfontein, Free State. I came here in Joburg in 2016 to my father's place. My dad's name is Matthew Moyo. He is a security guard. He wanted us to come stay with him. In 2017, I used to walk from like Flairhof to Midlands when I go to school. Every time I walk to school, I can see the building being built, and then I asked my friends about it, and then they told me that I think a private school is being built, which is Future Nation Schools. I was surprised, I was shocked to see a private school in this area.
The South African education sector is in dire need of private sector investment. Besides the fact that the government unfortunately does not have the means to cater to the increasing demand around education infrastructure, the quality of education is also a grave concern. There have been numerous stats released indicating that in terms of mathematics and literacy, South Africa has been rated one of the poorest performing countries in the world.
I always believed that corporates exist not just to generate profits, but they exist also to make a difference in the lives of communities or society in which they operate. And fast forward, I started Future Nation Schools when I was supposed to retire from corporate life. The whole idea of Future Nation Schools was a recognition that our education system, even from the best schools, we're not really preparing our young people for a world which is changing because of technology. And I wanted to create a laboratory in Future Nation Schools where we could demonstrate project-based learning, which is a learner-centered approach to learning and teaching, where the role of teachers is to impart not just knowledge, but also competencies and skills that young people need to live their life fully. The initial years were difficult because schools are highly capital intensive. It costs somewhere between 70 to 100 million rand to start a campus. It was important to find partners that could back us, not only in terms of financial aid or support, but also in terms of just running the school as a business.
At Old Mutual Alternative Investments, we invest in unlisted assets locally as well as throughout Africa. Our capabilities include private equity, international private equity, hybrid equity, infrastructure, as well as impact investing. Personally, I work in the impact investing side of the business, focused specifically on heading up the education funds. Across both funds, we have 47 schools and roughly 24,000 learners. Our schools have proudly exceeded and outperformed the national average pass rates for the matric exams as well as the bachelor pass rates since inception. In 2017, Sizwe approached the fund for funding to complete as well as expand his Future Nation School in Flairhof. This was a great opportunity for the fund, just knowing Sizwe's passion for education and his vision of using education to transform society. The fund actually, through its investment, increased the school size by more than 400 learners.
When I first walked in the school, I was like, it was beautiful. I was excited about this opportunity. I was very happy, and my dad was also happy. For me to go to Midlands, there was a lot of students in one class. We will be like 45, 40 in one class. We can't hear clearly sometimes, and we have to share a desk, and it's two of us. In Future Nation Schools, the matrics of last year, we were like 32. We were divided into two groups. In each class, we were like 17, 16, which was much better because I could concentrate much better and I could hear when someone is talking or when Say is talking. That's something I appreciate.
Our schools are operating independent of government funding, but our schools are priced at a level that is appropriate for the community that it's catering to. This type of investment not only has the ability to create a positive impact in the lives of the learners who attend the schools, but also we focus on creating sustainable businesses where we ensure permanent job creation as well as the upliftment of the communities in which our schools are operating.
We meet on a regular basis with Old Mutual executives where we talk about how our business is going, and they're able to bring a lot of insights and advice, obviously given the experience that they have as professionals. So it goes beyond just financial support and financial aid, but it also extends quite significantly into how schools operate.
The graduation ceremony was nice and it was great. I was happy and excited because Yeah, finally I made it. On my mother's side, on my mother's family, I'm the first one to actually finish matric. For me, maths is just, numbers are just in my blood. So my plans for the future, my passion, like what I really want to do is to become an actuarial scientist.
Our goal is really to produce young people that go on to become leaders, entrepreneurs, academics in the country, as well as highly qualified professionals. Because it is, after all, about young people. It is about how we create hope in our country.
Old Mutual Private Equity is one of the largest and most established private equity managers in South Africa and in Africa. We've been investing other people's money for 20-odd years. We've deployed in the order of 10 billion over that time period. I think the power of the private equity model lies in the active ownership. We talk to our management teams and our fellow shareholders every week. And it really is about getting up every day and driving value in the portfolio and making the businesses that we own more valuable. It's long-term value focused. A nice illustration of how partnerships actually work in private equity is footgear.
Back then, shoes were not as they are now on display in bulk. There was one shoe on show and people couldn't help themselves. You had to have someone to help you. So that was kind of the gap that we identified, to bring the shoes out and let customers help themselves and get the feeling of volume. So the first footgear store opened in 2001 in Access Park.
My name is Ashton Lawrence, born and bred in Cape Town at the end of, call it 2010/2011. So I was retrenched. Those were very challenging times. So I was actually living in a Wendy house. We had 2 kids and we had 1 room and everything was like a mess all the time. I started in footgear at Access Park the year 2012. I never had a matric. Footgear didn't turn me away. They had a look at my CV and they were willing to offer me a salesman's job. And I took it with both hands, I grabbed it.
You can also grab 2 Viva Italian inspired pairs and pay only 700. That's off the runways of Milan. We made the plan customers. It's hot fashion admired by Kim Kardashian.
From 2001 to 2009, we were a 4-store business for all intents and purposes, and then we had a strategy session with the 4 then owners, and we decided to go on an expansion run. 2018, we went up to 63 stores. What was happening simultaneously was the opportunity to acquire Edgar's Active. I remember quite clearly getting an email out the blue from Chumani Kula at Old Mutual wanting to have a cup of coffee. And from the first meeting with Chumani till we consummated the relationship 3 years later, he would just constantly stay in touch. And I think through that process, we clearly established that they were by far the partners of choice for us. So we had 63 stores when we did the deal. We then acquired the Edgar's Active stores. We managed to acquire 110 of those stores. There were about 750 people that came across with that transaction that otherwise would have been unemployed and retrenched. The end of financial year 2023 result is that the business will be around 250 stores with probably about 1,200 permanent employees. The rule of thumb is for every person employed, there's 5 people that rely on that individual. So I think it has a big impact on a lot of people's lives, and hopefully it's a good impact, positive. Working with Old Mutual Private Equity, obviously it's a financial investment, but it's much more than that. In 2020, the COVID phenomenon certainly tested our business on lots of levels. When you come out of lockdown from doing 0 sales, are we going to go back to 100? Are we going to do 50% of sales? How do we engage with staff? COVID protocols. The Old Mutual partnership played a huge role in us getting through that process. We just viewed them as a colleague to give a call and brainstorm. Felt like they were on the front line with us at any given time. There was no them or us.
Today, I manage 13 stores from Vredenburg all the way to Mitchell's Plain. I'm responsible for about 60 people. So I take it upon my own shoulders, you know. They're not that broad, but I take it upon my shoulders to make sure I do my job the best I can so that we can open stores and employ more people. The better we do, the more successful we are, the better it is for our country.
It's actually about growing the business, and in growing the business, we grow a lot of jobs. It also gives us, together with our entrepreneurs, a lot of meaning. Impact in the community, bursaries, academies, the many things that we support. For us, it's just part of stewardship.
Due to Footgear, I will basically be getting a accredited certificate equivalent to a matric certificate, the NQ4. 5 months ago, I moved into my own place just down the road, and that for me has been the best thing. The wife was just so happy. When she heard I could make it possible for us to move, she was over the moon. So I'm so happy for that. It can bring tears to your eyes sometimes, you know. Thank you, Footgear.
My father was a civil technology teacher. He was very strict, so he wanted me to stay inside the house, actually look at my books and not get involved. But I wanted to go out and explore things. I grew up around a lot of pressure. In the location that I'm living in, there's a lot of violence, gangsterism, stuff, drugs. So I found a group of friends that were using drugs. They said I should try something. That is when I started getting out of it. I used to play online games most of my time. I would not study. I was interested in hacking. And then my father, he got sick. I was actually heartbroken. I became a loner and my marks were not actually good at that time. I even failed my second term in grade 9. In grade 10, that is when I started with the website building and stuff. That is when I became much more inspired.
We believe as Telkom, it is our role in society to open up opportunities to leverage Telkom's capability and that of technology to improve the quality of education. Communities are battling with a myriad of psychosocial challenges, high unemployment rate, drug abuse, teenage pregnancy, and all the other social problems we know about. But also, if you look at our schools in the townships or our schools in the rural areas, you'll find that the resources that are available in those schools are very, very limited. If you think about what's happening in South Africa now, youth unemployment is almost at that level of a crisis. So we understand that if our children don't get the right quality of education, the likelihood is that they'll continue being outside the mainstream economy. So when we came as Telkom, we've been leveraging the art of technology to give our children the experience to widen their horizon.
What happens when you enroll these digital skills programs in a community, then you are able to see, there are children in China who are able to build a robot. There are children my age in New York who are getting their first funding. Then you are able to then aspire to be that. It's not that they lack creativity, they don't lack problem-solving skills per se, but then they just lack these digital skills so that they can be able to bridge that. So what do we do, instead of the kids just coming to the metropolitan cities to come and study about these cutting-edge technologies, we go to them and then we impart them those same skills on a much higher level.
But if you want to leave a long-lasting impact in that particular school, you have to do something that's going to benefit even the children that are yet to come. And we have trained a number of their teachers, and those teachers are really now integrating technology to improve the teaching practice.
Is that correct? Telkom came to the school back in 2017. Since then, we have been moving with our Telkom. Our teachers have been trained. Teachers did receive the laptops, also the data. So there is no excuse for any one of us to say, no, I don't have this, I can't do this. And then we've got a lab that is fully finished with connectivity.
I became so eager to learn, then I went into coding. It actually boosted me up.
So the art of coding, it's not part of the curriculum at the moment, but that's something that we deliberately wanted them to get into, because it is our belief that coding should actually be a 12th language.
I got to learn HTML, CSS, and Python. We started building a school's website with 3 of my friends.
I want to improve it.
As much as he seems quiet, I just saw this inquisitive boy. Always wants to know more. How are we doing this? Why is this? Is that kind of a kid who's got the whys?
We wanted people to actually register online, to tell them how many spaces we have. What is the minimum requirement of my child to go there?
The whole idea of critical thinking, problem solving, and those sort of skills that we're teaching them, actually we saw them coming through quite nicely.
I currently stay with my granny, and she's a strict woman, especially for school, because she was a teacher. And she was like surprised and blown away about what my team and I created in December. So basically, it's a bus card app. So let's say you lost your card. They can easily scan the QR code in that app and you can transfer your money to your card. So she was shocked, but she couldn't work it to save her life.
A lot of our work is really focused on making sure that we walk the journey with our young people. We started with these children, they were in grade 8 at that time. We offered them a supplementary program, so a lot of them came and attended classes with us on weekends, during vacation, and those classes really were meant to reinforce what they were learning. So if a child, for example, was struggling to comprehend or understand a particular concept, we then would go through that concept with them on a Saturday.
The person who asks questions in the class is the hero.
Let's say you didn't understand what you learned during the week, you can easily ask your Saturday school teacher, and that helps us to understand things more.
C is 2, D is 2, A is 3.
It has been a wonderful experience, and for many of them it has actually helped. Some now they are doing math and science and they are really on top of their class.
If Telkom had not decided to come in, a lot of the children that have been a part of our program would not have had any exposure to working on a computer. And as a result of that exposure and their involvement, they've made significant career choices. We've got learners that are now doing computer science at various universities. Some of them are doing engineering, and these are learners that would not have had that opportunity.
As you can see, when we're coming here, a lot of people are poor. I mean, most people don't get exposed to computers, so Telkom impacted a lot of people.
Okay, this is Mr. Bob, one of our former learners who was attending from 2021 and is doing BSc Computer Science.
When I was doing grade 8, Telkom Foundation came in and they renovated our school, and that's where I started developing my love for computers.
Candidates like us, what advice would you give us?
I told myself that I'm going to focus on my studies from January until December. Now imagine if I took Telkom for granted when it came and helped our school. I'm not even sure I would have passed matric with distinctions.
It's not just about helping them obtain the best of marks, but also to enable them to access post-schooling opportunities. And that's why our bursary program becomes so important.
It really takes off the financial burden off my parents, because Telkom is going to cover everything. It's going to pay for my living allowances, my tuition fees, and it's all because of my hard work during matric.
We got them to see themselves as people who are responsible for taking charge of where they want to be, people who are capable and people who can make the change. And I think we're beginning to see a lot of that, because a number of those that we're sponsoring are the first ones in their families to actually access tertiary education.
I was in high school at SAINC Secondary School. The school was supported by Telkom Foundation. Right now I am enrolled at the University of Witwatersrand. I have 3 siblings. I'm the first one to come to university. I come from a low-income household, but I worked hard. I made sure that I get a bursary because Telkom said they will provide bursary for us after matric. But it's huge. I get lost every day, but it's exciting because I'm learning to be independent. After I get to my degree and to do a master's.
We don't just focus on the academic, we focus on developing these learners holistically. But importantly, we also introduce a value-based program to make the children realize that whilst they may find themselves in very complex, very difficult circumstances, actually their destiny is in their hands.
The Saturday classes are not just there for tutoring us in math and science and English. I was actually involved in many other leadership courses. I improved a lot. I became comfortable with speaking with people.
What I love about him, whatever lesson that I'm doing, he will always assist the next learner who's next to him. So he's that kind of a boy who goes an extra mile. So that is what technology brought it to these kids, you know, because now they are seeing their inner ability. Like, I am able to do this. I can see this happening there. I can also do it.
My father was actually starting to get proud. So it was middle of 2020 when my dad passed away. It was a hard hit on me.
A number of them were battling with other issues, so we deployed social workers in those schools to assist children and their families. And for us, that is what we speak about when we say holistic development of learners. So when they walk out of the program, they walk out not just with great results, but they walk out as very solid, resilient young people that are ready to tackle the world.
Their coaching do come with a certificate that is being recognized worldwide. They will not cry. They will be employed anywhere in the world.
When I sing, I feel free. It's also the same way that I feel when I'm actually coding, because that is also my happy space.
I come from a township in Tembisa. I too did not have as many opportunities, and had it not been for those people at the time who took the risk, I would not be where I am today. And my view is that when you touch that one person, you actually are breaking generational poverty in those families. You will therefore impact communities, and we hope it will extend itself to the broader society.